What people are focused on is your final comment that riding in a fighter plane, getting shot down, isn't a qualification to be president. But you also make the point that John McCain didn't have executive experience. This has caused, as you know, a ruckus. Barack Obama has not had executive experience either. So why criticize John McCain for something that your own candidate can't claim to?
Well, Andrea, thanks for giving me a chance to be on and talk about this issue, because these are comments I made some time ago in general about John McCain, long before I supported Barack Obama, several months ago, based on my own experience in 38 years in uniform. I was a company commander in Vietnam. I came home on a stretcher. I'd been hit by 4 rounds. I had a broken hand, a broken leg. I was in 3 hospitals, and so I know what war is like at the cutting edge. And then I was later the commander, as you would recall, in Yugoslavia in the Kosovo campaign for NATO, and I helped win that battle for the United States and for NATO. And so I've seen war at the tactical level. I've seen it at the strategic level. So in this campaign, national security is going to be very, very important as an issue. John McCain has to be recognized as someone who served his country in uniform. He served with courage. He served with commitment. And I honor that service. And as I said on the show, he's one of my heroes. But the service that he had wasn't the same as having been in the White House or in the Pentagon or at a high-level command and having actually had to wrestle with national policy and national strategic issues. And that's
but as I say,
the point
neither
I'm
has
making.
Barack Obama. And the political impact of this has been to take Barack Obama off message on a day when he was giving a major speech on patriotism and, in fact, had to insert this following comment into his speech yesterday. Let's watch.
For those like John McCain, who have endured physical torment in service to our country, no further proof of such sacrifice is necessary. Let me also add that no one should ever devalue that service, especially for the sake of a political campaign, and that goes for supporters of both sides.
Now, he didn't mention you, General, but we have been told clearly he was referring to you. Doesn't that
I've talked
cause
to the
you some
campaign
concern?
about this.
Okay.
But, Andrea, it wasn't my decision to bring this up on Sunday, and I haven't made the ruckus.
Well,
but I think
you
an
answered
important
it the
point
way
in
you
this
answered
is
it,
that,
as we've shown.
well, I answered it the way Bob Schieffer asked it to me. I just answered a direct question. It was like, is the sun shining? I said, yes, the sun is shining. And I know that's not always done in politics, but I answered a direct question. So let me explain why I think this is an important issue and why I think it's important that our viewers understand that there's a distinction between having shown your courage and commitment as a soldier, sailor, airman in the United States Marine in the United States Armed Forces, and having learned from that the judgment that will make you a better president. Because I think ultimately this is a question about who has the better judgment to be commander-in-chief. Barack Obama is not claiming any experience having been in the armed forces. But I think if you look at their record of what they've said on things like Iraq and what they've said on the war on terror and how they're approaching the use of all of America's powers, not only our military power, you would make a strong case with me that Barack Obama has shown the better judgment.
Well, let me point out what some of the critics from the Republican side have pointed out, that there seems to be an organized campaign. And whether or not you played into this, that also on Sunday, a liberal blogger, John Aravosis on AmericaBlog.com, wrote, honestly, besides being tortured, what did McCain do to excel in the military? That was the title of the blog. Down in the blog, he said, getting shot down, tortured, and then doing propaganda for the enemy is not command experience. Now, first of all, there's a factual issue there, because no one has proved to my satisfaction that John McCain ever did any propaganda for the enemy. To the contrary, he resisted all efforts to use him as a tool, with his father being the admiral in charge of the fleet and refusing to let himself be released and become, you know, a tool of the North Vietnamese at the time. That said, there has been an argument.
He was a very honorable prisoner of war.
He was an extraordinary man, and he showed a great deal of courage and has had a career since he was a prisoner of war, which he can be judged on, his Senate career. But there's a whole issue of whether there is an organized campaign against John McCain's military service, which Barack Obama can stand above and say, I honor his service. Take a look at the MoveOn.org ad, the MoveOn.org ad with AFSCME, which has been airing quite widely. Let's play that.
Hi, John McCain. This is Alex, and he's my first. So far, his talents include trying any new food and chasing after our dog. That and making my heart pound every time I look at him. So, John McCain, when you say you would stay in Iraq for 100 years, were you counting on Alex? Because if you were, you can't have him.
Now, I know that John McCain
Andrea, that doesn't say anything about his military career. That has something to do about John McCain's judgment. And I think that's a very legitimate issue. But look, what I said had nothing to do with the Barack Obama campaign. I've been saying those things for months. I simply answered a direct question from the interviewer. And the clip you showed me is really about judgment, and I think that is a very important issue in this campaign.
Newsweek magazine online had suggested that you might be a vice presidential choice. You come from Arkansas. You were connected to the Clintons during the primary campaign. You have military service, foreign policy experience. Do you think that this whole episode helps or hurts the possibility of your being on the ticket?
First of all, I've heard nothing about this other than the rumors that fly in the press. I don't know anything about it, but really it's immaterial to me. What I was asked is my judgment based on my experience. And that's what I'm giving to the American people, and I've given it on several occasions, on several different shows and in writing and other things about the relevance of particular military experiences to the office of President of the United States. And that's the only issue that's important here.
Let me ask you about judgment. Barack Obama has said out in 16 months after you taking over. Some people have said, what about relying on the judgment of the commanders in the field? When you look at John McCain and you look at Barack Obama, do you think that either of them will have the flexibility to do what they claim they will do about withdrawing from Iraq? As a military man, won't the conditions on the ground and politically in Iraq determine how rapidly the U.S. can safely withdraw?
Well, certainly Barack Obama is going to look at the conditions on the ground and the political conditions in Iraq, and he's going to do more than that. He's going to open a diplomatic dialogue with Iraq's neighbors, including people we don't agree with, and he'll try to set up some sensible strategy for the region around which or through which the United States will extract its forces. I think he'll begin to withdraw immediately soon within a month or so after taking the office next January. I certainly hope he will, because I believe that it's the fact of the American withdrawal that will trigger the real incentives to help the Iraqis come to the agreements they need to resolve those political differences.
Wesley Clark, thank you. I want to thank you also for sticking to your commitment to be with us today. We had originally talked about this interview last week. We were going to talk about Iraq. Other events intervened, as we both know, and you kept your word, and I thank you for that.
Andrea, thank you for giving me an opportunity to say one more time to veterans and all those who are serving in uniform that I honor everyone who serves, especially John McCain, who has been a personal hero of mine, and I thank you for giving me the opportunity to say that again. Thank you.
You bet. Thanks for being with us. And now for a different